For indie over 50 artists, most of us, we play, we might be able to read music, and we certainly give it a go at singing. What if you can't do any of those things? Imagine now what the power of AI is for our community. Now, it's a vexed issue, right? It's a black widow spider for us all. And it's a really contentious area. Do we want to listen to music from the Velvet Sundown? Or do we want to hear original people pick up a guitar and strum and play straight into the microphone? No MIDI, no hot wire noises. Where do you begin and end in your journey of adopting and embracing technology? Today is my real pleasure to introduce a guest called Terence Chang. Terence has adopted AI from the get-go. He doesn't have, like many of us, those skills that we might bring or we think that we bring to our art and our craft. He's really generous now to share his story of embracing AI. So strap yourselves in, let your AI fears go for the moment, and welcome to our interview with Terence Chang.
Don't ask me how. Oh, your perfume's got me high, like a whisper on my skin tonight. One more step, come close to me. Let me drown in your chemistry. It lingers soft on your fingers.
Welcome, Terence. Where in the world are you today?
I actually live in Sydney, in a quiet suburb called The Ponds. It's actually at the end of the new metro line, Kalawang Station. So I'll give you a bit of background about myself. So I was originally born in a small city called Sandakan in Sabah, Malaysia. My family and I immigrated to Perth, Western Australia, when I was basically starting my high school, like maybe 12, 13 years old. I then, after my education in Perth, so high school, university, and then after that, found a job there as well in IT. And then I moved from Sydney on my own pretty much for work, actually through a work relocation program in the IT company that I work for, but I've stayed here ever since. And then eventually my parents and my brother also moved over across from Perth to join me here as well. When I first moved to Sydney, I lived in the North Shore, so near where you are in Chatswood and St. Leonard's. And then after that, I moved to Rhodes for a little bit, and finally then here in The Ponds.
Excellent. And look, one of the questions I always ask as a challenge to indie over 50 artists, having grown up in that, that previous century, what's your favorite artist from the 21st century?
Look, I love all artists and all types of music, but the one that stood out to me is Michael Jackson. So even when I was a little kid, before I could even speak English, I was singing. When I heard Michael Jackson, I was singing "Beat It, Beat It, Beat It." and then when I was a teenager, when the Bad album came out as well, "Smooth Criminal" is one of my favorite songs. And then I bought the Michael Jackson Dangerous album as well. Lots and lots of hits on there. Black or White, Remember the Time. I was really into basketball back then as well. So there was a song called Jan that was Michael Jordan and my two MJs together in the video clip. So I was really into that as well. So yeah, I would say Michael Jackson is pretty much my favorite artist of all time, king of pop. In fact, he's got a new biopic coming out next year. So I'm looking forward to checking that out.
That'll be ambitious.
Biopic
very
movie
ambitious.
Coming out.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, you've chosen an artist who does cross centuries, but probably in the breath that we hold Beethoven and Bach, there'll be a place for, Michael Jackson, the Beatles. It's pretty rarefied air, so a great inspiration there for you as well. Look, the other thing I ask is, and it's interesting because you've already shared some of your background, is what was the first thing you bought from a music? What was the first time you purchased something from music, your own money?
I don't remember much of like tiny thing, like whether it's an album or a CD or something. But I do remember distinctly in recent times, I spent over $5,000 to buy music production equipment. So I bought things like MIDI keyboard. I bought a couple of Yamaha desktop studio monitors, because I was really, really wanting to get into this deep dive into this music production, creating it with the computer and things like that. So I bought, Logic Pro, the Mac software. I went on, sign up to online courses, and also, just basically buying these samples and loops and things like that in the hope that I could actually make, cinematic instrumental type music that are production ready that you can share with the world. Unfortunately, that was a flop. After about 2, 3 months, I gave up because it was just too hard. It was just way too hard. I didn't know what I was doing. So with all the training, I could only make songs I would enjoy, but no one else would.
Well, I think it's a great story. Firstly, because it says so much about you that it's a relatively recent foray into music. Sometimes on Indie Over 50, it's the first guitar we bought from a pawn shop or whatever. And for the other thing that it illustrates about you is your dedication to going all in, right? So you did the right things. You bought the Yamaha reference speakers. You bought the MIDI keyboards. You bought Logic Pro. I think that says so much. It wasn't the path that you ended up adopting. So I think that's part of our story today. But, Indie Over 50 and embracing music, but so much of that is informed by your background. So outside of music, do you want to tell us about your day job or career or background in that type of nature?
Sure, sure. So I originally studied at uni. I studied computer science. So I'm more like a tech nerd. So I was good with dealing with softwares, hardwares, networking, but also building websites and things like that. And that's kind of like my first career. So I started a IT business in digital marketing. So developing websites and campaigns with the sort of like advertising agencies and marketing companies. And then subsequently, I've sold that business to a marketing holding company. So that's when, like my career in sort of IT sort of finished. And that's when I started to think about what else do I want to do with my life?
That's a great moment when you can actually have that purposeful thought about, I've done my career. And in your case, it sounds like you established a successful business, which you were able to sell. And then you were able to take, well, where do I go? What do I do now? What prompted you to engage in music?
I think I've always been interested in music, right? So going back to high school, like I said, I was very interested in listening. Well, I'm very good with my taste in music kind of changes over time because it depends on whom I'm friends with at the time, right? So in high school, I was really into Michael Jackson and Madonna as well, pop songs and things like that. Funny enough, one of my friends was really into Guns N' Roses. So I was also into the sort of rock and metal as well. Especially when I remember when Terminator 2, the movie came out. And one of the songs, the title songs on there was Guns N' Roses, You Could Be Mine. And that was really like powerful. I thought that song was well written and things like that. So I got into Guns N' Roses in my sort of earlier years. And then later on, I was swept up in the sort of like the boy band and the girl groups and things like that, like the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, or even Spice Girls. All these pop ballads came to mind, like they were so catchy and everybody was, listening to them and stuff like that. And then later on, when, towards the end of my high school and maybe towards uni, I was going clubbing a lot with my friends and I was listening to all these all sorts of dance music. The one that came to mind would be like the ones that are with like one guy and one girl, and the girl would sing like a really sort of catchy melody catchy hook or catchy chorus, and then the guy would be like doing a really deep voice and rap in the middle of the song. That sort of style, I was really into as well, like dance songs that are anthems that you can basically just, jump up and dance and stuff like that too. And then later on, with the whole American culture thing, where I was listening to, R&B, hip hop, rap, I was getting into, basically wearing my cap backwards, trying to act cool, and try to speak like Americans and stuff like that. Yo, yo, yo. Things like that as well. And then after I moved to Sydney through work, I started listening to a lot of Cantonese pop songs, Canto pop from Hong Kong. Um, like artists like Sammy Cheng, Cheng Xiaoman, and Jackie Chung. Jackie Chung is what's his Chinese name again? Zhang Haoyao. And then later on with Mandarin Chinese pop songs as well, like Mando pop songs from Taiwan, like the likes of Jay Chou, so Zhou Jielun and Jolin Chai, which is her Chinese name is Cai Yiling. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but trust me,
None of
they're a
these
big deal
artists
in Asia and in
None of
Snack.
these artists ring a bell for me personally. But tell me about your heritage. So you understand that language? Are you bilingual, or you got other languages in your heritage? And
Yes, yes. So I'm Malaysian born Chinese. So when I can speak and read Chinese, but when I came over here, obviously I learned English as well. So with my unique set of skills, I decided to basically get into sort of like try to create a niche in creating, I guess, producing songs that are Chinese songs, but with English melodies or English lyrics, like a hybrid of the two, which we can talk about in a sec as well. But yes, I am bilingual in the sense that I can read and write in Chinese, but also in English as well.
well, that's an extraordinary power that you've got, and you're 100% right. It's something that I'm so fascinated with. In terms of your journey, you've embraced AI, but you've also applied yourself to this kind of really amazing niche. And I think that probably underpins some of your success. And for me, it kind of highlights a real opportunity that you've tapped into, that, that it's not cross genre. I don't know it's cross lingual, it's cross cultural. And I think that's a really interesting foundation for your pursuits.
Yeah, because I'm kind of lucky in the sense that I'm proficient in both English and Chinese, so I can utilize these skills to explore this niche that I'm passionate about. Because I listen to a lot of these canto pop and mando pop songs, then because I wanted to create basically, the whole idea behind it is to write songs that potentially could reach the Chinese audience, um, who are like me living in Western countries, right? Through Spotify and all that, you can explore and search for songs that are in Chinese, but also for people who are trying to learn Chinese as well, in a way, because I try to put all the lyrics and the translation on YouTube and also within the Spotify sort of lyrics and stuff like that as well. So people who are trying to learn Chinese through music, they could do so as well. So I'm hoping to be able to bridge the gap between Chinese and English, songs or listeners that, I'm able to appeal to both sides, to English, song listeners, but also Chinese song listeners, to bring something new and fresh and unique to the table.
I found that really, really fascinating, and it's one of the first things I commented to you on how impressed I was with. I described that your YouTube videos, and we will have a link below so people can check out those YouTube videos. But it was that combination where we had a Chinese vocals, we then had Chinese characters, and we had English words. So it was
Mhm.
multi-dimensional sharing and engagement on the music and the lyrics. And I can understand from your perspective again about appealing to that cross-cultural listeners who could engage and learn or engage around English, or they could learn and engage around Cantonese or Chinese. So I thought that was really fascinating approach to take.
Yeah. It's also very funny as well, a little story as well. So first when I released the first video, I only put the Chinese lyrics with no sort of like the pronunciation or the translation or anything like that. And then I find that a lot of listeners in Indonesia, they could be Chinese people or it could be Indonesian people, but when they listen to the music, they can't understand Chinese when they look at the YouTube video. So one of the requests they said was, could you put the pinyin in there? So like pinyin is basically those English characters above the Chinese to tell you how it's pronounced. So when they follow along, they could actually, even though they don't understand the song or understand the words, they could at least follow along and sing along using the pinyin, that's the English pronunciation just right above the characters themselves. So that's one of the things. And I actually have a lot of Spanish speakers who are fans as well. Like they reached out on social media and say, I have no idea what you're singing about, but damn, it sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm addicted to it.
Well, I just love how music can cross cultures, cross continents. And one of the things, even in this video today with YouTube, there will be potential opportunities for people to see captions in other languages. And what YouTube is already working towards is dubbing in other languages. So for all we know, in the future, people might be listening to us converse in Cantonese, which is just an extraordinary. Yeah, that's right. Spanish, German. Look, it's just the technology is just racing, and it's just creating an amazing world of connection and community. So I think it's very, very exciting. Let's talk about your background. You've got a business background, and again, you went all in on, I'm going to produce music myself. And then you quickly identified that maybe that wasn't your passion or pursuit, but you're still passionate and have a dream of creating beautiful music. So do you want to talk to us about your engagement with AI and how you've embraced and worked with AI?
Yeah. So look, I love to write. I think I'm pretty good at writing, but the problem was I wanted to write stories, right? The problem was when I work, through my career, it drove me into writing technical documents, proposals, emails, all of those stuff that are left brain stuff, like logic and processes and things like that. It kind of left me, like from a creativity side, I felt like I'm a little bit of a passionless zombie, just walking through, like there's nothing creativity. The right side of the brain isn't utilized as much. There's not enough exercise in that area. So I thought, over time, I wanted to think of something that I could do, and things really changed when I discovered my ability to write any style of music with the help of AI. At first, I thought AI would be pretty rubbish, in the sense that when I first heard about AI can help you generate music, the first thought that came to mind was, is it just like EDMs, like the dance songs? Is it just techno songs? Is it just soulless, emotionless songs? Or could you use AI to do something a little bit more? So I started experimenting with it, right? And started to learn that you can actually write pretty decent soulful and emotional songs with the help of AI. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of AI slop out there. AI slop meaning low effort, low quality, churning out song after song that sound exactly the same and then clogging up the internet. How I use AI, I try to think about how I can use AI in a way that it can almost be my assistant in a lot of ways. Like if I was a musician, I would probably think of AI as something a bit scary. Is it taking over my job and stuff like that? But if you think in terms of, if you elevate yourself a little bit to a music producer type level or position, you start to say, hey, I've got junior assistant that I can engage to help me out with maybe sourcing some ideas, or using my ideas, but explore that, fine tune it into maybe, like some music, or if I want to have a band, to help me out, I can use AI to basically, help me out with having a guitarist or a drummer or musician, etc. So I think of being a music producer, you can use AI to your advantage to benefit your workflow, as opposed to being scared by it and that it's going to overtake everybody's job and stuff like that. It's how you use it, I reckon. You have to think of it as a tool in terms of what you can do with it. Now, I'm pretty lucky in a way, in a sense that I started playing around with it a little bit earlier than most people. So I'm able to sort of tap into the power of creation and producing songs with it. In fact, I recently read that Timbaland, the Grammy Award American music producer, he started his own sort of AI record label as well, and he's signing up. Or creating his own AI artist. He's about to release a new single or album with it as well. But I'm sort of like one step ahead because I'm a one-man company. I can actually do it slightly quicker and just be out there before even the big sort of music producers are getting into it yet.
That's really interesting, and really insightful on a number of levels. You've
Yeah.
actively embraced it. B, you see it as a tool, and C, you see yourself ahead of the curve in terms of what's developing. In terms of that development, it's a contentious area because there's two divides here. There's, as you say, Spotify can be slammed with slop, arguably. We've got the appearance of, the Velvet Sundown and the arguments about the quality of the music and the origin, and then what I call the Black Widow trap for musicians and songwriters is the contentious area of copyright, which is not all settled. It's still a very actively debated, and
Still very, very new.
yeah, it's very fresh. Regulations and lawmakers are trying to catch up with something that where I heard on radio this morning, the genie's out of the bottle, right? So, but they're trying to retrofit laws when the reality is most of the content of most man-made content has already been scraped and ingested into some form of AI out there as well. I always remember you said this to me, Terence, and it's a bit like what you were talking about with the producer. A producer or a musician could listen to every album that's ever been produced, and they could learn to play every instrument that's ever been played. And whilst that's unimaginable from a human effort point of view, just the sheer time of that, I think that's what something really, really resonated with me when you say, well, that's what AI is doing for you. It's gone and listened, it's gone and learned, and you're working with it to shape and direct how your vision comes to life.
A lot of the times, I think it's about when you want to create a song, it has to come from human input, right? So for me, I come up with the idea of what my inspiration is, and before I even start using the AI altogether, I start thinking about what sort of story I want to tell. And once I've sort of come up with the context of what the song is about, then I start to, jot down ideas and maybe some lyrics already. Start to write the lyrics first before anything else, before you even touch the computer. And then when you sort of have some sort of direction, and then the types of the genre of music you want to write, the style that you want to write in, what sort of instrument you want to include in your song, right? It could be like a hip hop song, but with Chinese instrumentation, or it could be a pop song with synthesizers. It could be any of those combinations. You have to come up with the story you want to tell. The human input side is extremely important. That's what the soul, that's what the emotional side comes into the song. It's not the press the button and then the song comes out at the end like a machine. You have to come up with all of that, and then you start asking, hey, how can I use this? All of my ideas, but I just don't have enough money to go and hire a studio and to grab three musicians and to book it for 2 weeks just to brainstorm, right? So you gotta try to find the most cost effective way you can achieve like a professional output. So in this case, I'm using AI as my assistant to say, hey, all right, this is my idea, this is my song. Go ahead, come back with some drafts of what I feel, what I tell you to create. And when you come back, the first thing I look at is, oh, that's good. Record it. No. I go, hang on, this is not right. You're not that sharp at all. You might be really resourceful and have all of this human history behind, like the types of music and all that. But if you ain't unable to give me exactly what I want, then it's useless, right? So I then refine it and say, maybe I'm not telling you good enough. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job to explain exactly what I want from you, AI. So therefore, I'm going to try to refine my prompt, right? My request, and say, hey, I want it slightly more emotional in this verse, or I want the instrument to be, to be a bit more louder or better or whatever it may be, right? So just redo it again and again, rinse and repeat until you give me exactly like that follows what my vision is. That's when, you know, it can be said as, you know, that the work is complete, so to speak. You know, once you've refined it and get to a certain point, then the song is ready. When it's ready is when you start saying, hey, did I actually create this song or did AI automatically create this for me? They didn't. It's still my ideas. It's still my writing. It's still my experiences, and it's still my, you know, pouring my heart and soul into the song. Therefore, it should still be like I feel that it still has my soul in it, so to speak. So that's when I thought, hey, you know, if I could use AI to create songs that can touch people's hearts, that's when I've done my job, so to speak. So I thought when I could write a few songs, at first I was experimenting with it. I wasn't planning to start a business. It was meant to be a hobby, maybe an expensive hobby, but it was still a hobby, right? But when I started writing songs and getting the results that I start seeing that there's actually some, you know, people are actually liking my songs because of maybe something that, you know, in the lyrics or something in the melody that touches their heart. That's when I'm onto a winner, so to speak. So I've decided then that I'll turn that hobby into a business. So that's when I started right from the get-go, create a record label and then basically and create artists that are AI artists. So I started with one, which is a male AI artist that sings all of my songs. And then more recently, I added a female artist as well because there's some songs that I write that are more suitable for a female interpretation or you know, like a female to sing it. It's more appropriate. So then now I've got a male and a female artist all under my AI record label.
So let's talk about that. That's a really interesting dimension of this journey, and it's again, it's applying. You know that you talk about the right brain, the left brain. It's applying your business skills now to embracing the creative pursuit of music. And so, what does starting a label mean for you? What have you needed to do and to create this business venture?
Yes. So luckily, I've started businesses before, like I said, with IT, marketing, digital marketing sort of area. So I know to start a business, I need to have a good accountant. I need to have, you know, good solicitor. I need to have business acumen. I need to know do marketing. I need to do sales. I need to, all of those things combined to say, hey, you know, if I start a record label, I don't want to hire a lot of staff. You know, I want it to be like as nimble and as sort of cost effective as possible. And with technology, with innovation, with AI, I could do a lot of that stuff just myself, right? So once you have a record label, it's really just an arbitrary, you know, it's just a business entity that creates that professionalism around your craft, so to speak. So you have artists that are, you know, in the future, it doesn't limit me from maybe signing on real life human artists. But for the moment, you know, for me, it's more cost effective to focus on doing the AI male and female artists. Down the track, I might have different types of artists or maybe bands, but I'm not thinking that far ahead yet. But with these two artists, basically you want to create a platform for them to be able to, you know, release the songs onto Spotify, Apple Music, and things. In fact, recently I created a Bandcamp profile for both the artists as well. So I'm able to also monetize the songs, not just through royalties, but also to sell songs to passionate hardcore fans who want to also own the music as well that I produce and under those artists. And the other thing is because you want to do something special for your hardcore fans as well. It's not just, you know, wait for the song or the album to come out on Spotify, but you could actually through Bandcamp, I could release my songs 1 or 2 weeks earlier than the streaming services. So the hardcore fans can actually get to try the songs because for free, like they can listen to the songs like 3 times before they have to open their wallet to buy the song. So they can listen to it and say, oh, I like it. You know, then I'll pay for it. You know, otherwise I'll just listen to it. And yeah, I got, you know, I get the perks of on Bandcamp having to an opportunity to listen to upcoming songs before they even release in the mainstream sort of streaming services. So that's why I created the record label, to do it properly, to basically not just, because when you retroactively have to fix something down the track, it's always so much trouble. So might as well just think about what it is your vision is and try to do things right and do things once. So that's why I created a record label and put all that, under there, so that it's like a self-contained proper business from the get-go.
Well, again, applying your business background and knowledge and acumen. And tell us about the two artists that you've developed or created through this
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah. So the very first one, his name is Sky Ling Tianyu, Chinese name Ling Tianyu. So I created him back in around February is when we released his first single. That's the one that you heard when we first met up. And that had a lot of Chinese instruments and things like that. And it's a sort of like it's still a pop song, but a bit of R&B as well. So I have always been interested in different genres of music. So I like R&B. I like a bit of Chinese hip hop, a bit of pop, a bit of pop rock even as well. So a lot of that influences are seen through the sort of like the Skyling, my artist, and a lot of the songs there are that. But I still explore on the edges of. In fact, the funniest thing was I got into Linkin Park recently, like listening to some of his their back catalog, and I really liked some of the songs that they sang on the back of like Transformers movies, like those new metal rock songs, alternative rock songs. So I started dabbling in that, started writing rock songs that are sound in the style of Linkin Park as well, and Evanescence. So the female artist also has a song coming out that sounds a bit like Evanescence as well. So it has that style, because I've started writing some gothic metal and a little bit of like alternative rock, new metal type of style as well, that adds to the dimensions of these artists can perform as well. So why I created a female artist is I wanted to write something more cinematic, something more emotional and a bit darker as well. Like when you explore the theme of love, it's not always just sunshines and rainbows. It's
Yes.
sometimes heartbreaks. It's sometimes going crazy about like infatuation, stuff like that. So I wanted a female sort of aspect as well. So I wanted to create songs with lyrics that are appropriate for a female to sing in that sort of darker, cinematic, but still R&B and a ballad sort of power ballad sort of area as well. So that's why I created them. Now between them, luckily for me, I've got over 200,000 streams already between the two artists on Apple Music and Spotify. Spotify being the one that's got the most amount of streams, and the artists have recently just gotten over 10,000 monthly listeners each. In fact, this morning when I checked, Sky has about about 18,000 monthly listeners, and the female artist is her name is Sam Yu Xingfei. She's got about 15,000 monthly listeners as well. So pretty good for something that I started only earlier this year.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. And I think because it's on YouTube as well, what type of following or engagement have you had on these artists with their YouTube?
Not so much. Yeah, not so much with YouTube. Like I do get some engagement from people who like the songs, that make comments, and I always thank them on the channel as well. But I think the number one channel for, I guess, enjoying my music is Spotify. But I think Apple Music is still far second, like far second, and then YouTube. Now, I wanted to do the YouTube. Like a lot of people, they say, oh, well, since it's not doing that much engagement on YouTube, why don't you just focus on doing the music side, Apple Music and Spotify and focusing on that. I said, no, but because I like YouTube. I think YouTube is a completely different thing. It's not just YouTube music, but it's YouTube videos. And like you said, a lot of people who are learning Chinese, they want to see how to sing the song and stuff like that. So that's when I still keep my YouTube channel up to date. Like every time I release a song, like in fact, later on today, I've got a new song coming out, and I'm going to create that video as well on YouTube with the lyrics and the pinging and all of those,
Yes.
because there are people that aren't on streaming platforms. They can still enjoy it on the free YouTube, and also visually see, you know, the words of the songs and learn the songs, follow along that way, like karaoke.
So, Terence, the terrific results to see, as I say, heading towards 20,000 listeners a month for each of your artists, several 100,000 streams already, and there's clearly a trajectory there. One of the things that all indie over 50 artists struggle with is marketing. How do you get your song heard? So, what type of approaches have you undertaken to get your songs and artists in front of new listeners' ears?
At first, it was really difficult because nobody knows me or knows any of my music apart from family and friends that you share the songs to, right? So at first, when I first met you, I can't remember exactly how many monthly listeners Sky had. I think it was in the low teens. No, actually more than that. Maybe less than 100 monthly listeners. This is only going back about a few months ago.
A few months ago,
So
yeah.
I was kind of at the beginning, I was kind of a little bit sort of disappointed in the sense that nobody was coming to listen to my songs, even though I was pushing it out on social media, pushing it out on YouTube and try to, you know, tell everybody about it. There are different ways that you can market your songs. The key thing is you want to get it in front of people, right? So when you get it in front of people, there are several ways you can do that. I chose a way that I feel is the most appropriate for me. I think one of the criteria I had about marketing, because I didn't want to spend any money on marketing initially, but over time, my perception changed because I feel that if you don't put your music in front of the right people or the right type of people, you're never going to get any new fans. You're not going to have the spark that starts a fire. So in order to create that spark, I felt meta ads has the most potential. That's where I started doing marketing using meta ads. So I'm talking Facebook ads and Instagram ads. Without those, I reckon I wouldn't have the results that I have today, because once I put some of, like, every song, like, I created a bit of a strategy around that as well. It's not just, you know, randomly try to throw money to Facebook and Instagram, right? It's about how about when I release a new song, you know, you want to set a budget, a low enough budget, but still enough for it to create that spark. So I set like a $5 US daily budget on a new song. And let's say, you know, down the track, you release the second song. The second song, you would run that both at the same time. So $5, $5. But if one of them then starts to show you better results, then you keep that one as your evergreen ad set that you keep running. But then you take the other one off and wait for the new song to come out. And then the second song will then replace, you know, like a challenger to your evergreen one, so to speak. So you only ever have two running at the same time, never three, right? So that way you're keeping it to maybe $10 a day. That's it, like US dollar. So that's like $15 a day.
It's really interesting hearing you talk about this, because I hear you applying your digital marketing skills. You know, this is the business that you ran, but it was, you know, before it was about lead generation for businesses through Google Ads or SEO or whatever the case might be. And now here it is, you're applying that same background and insights and expertise into marketing of music. And when we talk about meta ads, are you running the ad sets yourself, or you've got a manager that, you know, sets up the creative and the tests and things like that?
I have the experience to create all the ad sets and all the creative and all the stuff myself, but it was too much work. You know, when you're releasing songs, you want to focus on your passion, your energy towards your passion. And you're writing songs and you're releasing songs and all that. And then suddenly you have to deal with these really complex Facebook ad manager, you know, creating this, creating that, campaign, the ad sets, and then you've got to test this and test that. I found it to be just too laborious. So I said to myself, look, I need to find a platform or a, you know, like a set of tools that can help me do that effectively, so that I can spend maybe maximum 5 to 10 minutes each time I release a new song to use the meta ads. So I found one called Hyped It. I'm not sure whether you've heard of it before. Hyped It is a platform that allows you to basically,
Yeah. We'll put the link below, but yes, it's a great example.
yeah, then you basically just upload your music, and then it will automatically generate some ideas about the target market and different countries you want to target, and then you can just change a few things, and then you can publish, and it will take care of all of that. Of course, you still pay the ad to Facebook, in terms of the cost of the ads, but the platform itself is quite an inexpensive way to cut down on 90% of the laborious work that you have to do manually, because you literally just go click, 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 drag and drop, and then you're ready to go basically within 5-10 minutes. So that's what I use.
That's great advice, I
Yeah.
think, for anyone who is wanting to embrace meta ads and do the work, but do it smartly as well.
But meta ads isn't the be all and end all as well. I think I want to talk a little bit more about what the flow on effect of the meta ads are, because at the beginning, when you are just running sort of $5 a day, how many, fans are you really going to get, right? So sometimes you might get 10 people coming, click through to listen to your songs, and one or two of those might become a real fan down the track, like following you or saving you onto the library and things like that. But what I found to be really interesting is that within Spotify for Artists, the web portal, you start to see songs that do a bit better, right? And why do they do a bit better? It's not just from the ads. It's the algorithms that Spotify has. So it's like what I said about having the spark that starts a fire. The meta ads the money that you spend on the ads isn't the one that's going to push it to, blow up. It's actually having that spark that starts that little fire, that Spotify algorithm, which are basically AI algorithms, right? They look at songs and say, oh, that one's got a few people that likes listening to it, and they've got this demographic or this, from this geographic location. I might serve it out to more Spotify users that are similar profile to those, and they start to do their own sort of radio or DJ mixes or all these algorithmic playlists that they start including your song into, to personalize to some of the users. And that's when it starts to go, hey, like more and more people like it. I'm going to throw it more to this. I'm going to throw it more to that. And that's all automatic. You don't need to do anything. And then
Yeah.
they just start going. And then suddenly my top performing song is Your Perfume, 16,000 streams. That there, I ran ads for 5 days, and that didn't move the needle at all. But later on, because of the fact that there was a spark there, and then it sent to a few people, and then suddenly I was like surprised. I turned off the ads, nothing was happening, and then suddenly one night it was just like 1,000 listeners. I'm like, how did that come about? And it just went crazy. Yeah.
One of the magic pieces in Spotify is the popularity score. So in terms of that spark and fire, one of the things, my observation is, you need to get that popularity score above 20, maybe 30. That can be inspired by the meta ads push and your family and friends, but it really needs to get above there. And that's when then, as you say, Spotify algorithm will be smart enough to say, hey, when people listen to this, they like it, or they keep listening, or they save it to their playlist. And as a result of that, we're going to recommend it to these other audiences as well. And that's the real power of
But it's a bit of a
catching
black
the
box,
algorithm.
though.
It's a black box. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a black box because you don't know exactly, with the popularity score. I've been lucky in the last week or two. Both my artists have some songs in the Discover Weekly. Oh, in
Yes.
fact, they all have one each in Discover Weekly. So one of them, I could understand why it's in Discover Weekly, because it's popular. It's got 28% on the popularity score, so it's close
Yeah.
to 30. So I thought, oh, it moved up pretty quickly, so therefore Discover Weekly picked it up. Another song that I released months ago, right? And it's only got a popularity score of about 20. It got picked up as well. But whereas I've got other songs that are 28 or 24 or 26, they never got picked up. So I think it's like they look at not only the popularity score, but they also look at how quickly it's suddenly moved up to have more listeners. Like that song,
Yeah.
potentially they could have pushed out through another playlist of theirs. It could be, let's say, call it the radio that they stick behind other people. So after they listen to one or two songs and then they stick another song that maybe it was from me, then that song there then gets, like popular very, very
Yeah.
quickly. And then they would take that score, but multiply by their other criterias and then go, yep, this song also deserves to be in the Discover Weekly because it suddenly gained some popularity just in the recent week or something like that. So it's like really weird how the algorithm works, but yeah.
It works. It's incredibly powerful.
I guess going back to when you mentioned why did I create the record label as well
Yeah.
to do things properly, I think I can cover off that. I think we can say that once I realized the potential to able to produce and release professional quality music using AI, I then created a full-fledged proper business around it. But it's not just about I guess fame and fortune. It's about maybe creating a legacy as well, or a gift that I can give and share to my wife and my kids in the future because I'm not going to be around forever. So having a bit of a legacy through music, I reckon it could be something that they can remember me by as well as a legacy.
So, Terence, you've these two artists getting success. You've cracked the Spotify algorithm. What's their future? I mean, are these two going to get together? Are they going to do a duet, or what's the future for Skyling and his friend?
Thank you. Yeah. So yes, I have plans to release one or two songs where they're singing together. They're going to be doing romantic songs together. So stay tuned for that. I'm planning to come out in the next few months. Um,
Terrific.
yeah.
So the other thing I'll ask is for indie over 50 artists listening to this, what advice would you provide for anyone, discovering, releasing new music on Spotify and YouTube for the first time?
Yeah. So for indie over 50 artists, whether you are using AI or whether you are a traditional musician, the process is more or less the same. I think it's about following your passion. Looking at me, like you said, I'm not a typical musician or a music person. I don't know how to play instruments. I don't know how to sing. For the life of me, I can't sing. I don't know how to read even music notes, but I listen. I have a passion. I have a taste for different types of music. It's about harnessing that experience. Life experience is what we have in the over 50 people, right? Life experience is what we have. So we combine all of our knowledge and experiences and we put that together and then we can utilize some of that using technology and tools, not just AI. It could be using a digital audio workstation like a DAW that is easy to use with, like I try to learn Logic, but GarageBand I could get used to. It's nice and simple, but Logic is a bit harder, more professional. But you could use tools like that as well to enhance your musical journey. Now, it's not about fame and fortune. It's about doing things that inspire you. I reckon it's about sharing it with your music with the people that you love. And hopefully you get a bit of fame and fortune out of it as well. But for me, it's not about that. And if you're thinking about starting something in the over 50 artists, it's not too late. Don't procrastinate. Just do it. Jump in, do it. I just basically how I got started was I was just having a Sunday run with my friends. In fact, they run, I walk. And then over coffee afterwards, they said to me, "Hey, what have you been up to lately?" I said, "Oh, not very much, watching Netflix and stuff." But I did come across something, like people are saying that they can use AI to create music. And the friends were saying, "Why don't you look into it, man? You're like free compared to everyone who works." I said, "Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna make that a challenge. I'm gonna get off after this coffee. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna research. I'm gonna experiment. I'm gonna try." And then 2 weeks later, I'm starting a whole record company with songs, ready to go. So that's how quickly things like snowballed.
What a great note to finish on today with Terence Chang. You've shared in this in the answer to that question, that advice about the opportunity to never too late to start, to follow your passion, to use the tools and embrace them, whether it's a AI or whether it's plugging into an amplifier. I think embracing the technology, the tools available at your disposal, and then making it happen for fame and fortune, for a legacy, or it's what you do. So I think on that note, thank you very much, Terence. It's been an absolute pleasure to have this chat today.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure for me too, to talk about things that I'm passionate about.